Hi, in this video we are going to read and analyze a poem. I would like to ask you first this question. How do you analyze a poem to understand its message? Do you have a system? What do you do when you have a poem in front of you? What do you do? Right? Think about the answer, if you do it, of course. All right? Let's read the following poem together. It's called Winter Morning Poem by Ogden Nash. Winter is the king of showmen, turning tree stumps into snowmen. You know what a showman is? A showman is a person that creates spectacles, right? That creates shows. That would be a better way to say it. Create shows, showman. Turning tree stumps into snowmen. Tree stumps are that part of the tree that remains when you cut it, so that bottom part of a cut down tree. And snowmen are those men or those balls that you put together and that you put some arms around them, beside them, and you put some stones or something that represent the eyes, and you create a snow figure, let's say, right? Snowmen. And houses into birthday cakes and spreading sugar over lakes. So that's what winter does, right? Turns houses into birthday cakes and spreading sugar over lakes. Smooth and clean and frosty white, the world looks good enough to bite. So that's what the winter does. That's the season to be young, catching snowflakes on your tongue. Snowflakes are those particles of snow that float in the air because they are coming down from the sky. Snow is snowy when it's snowing. I'm sorry, it's slushy when it's going. I love that. Snow is snowy when it's snowing. It's called alliteration. I'll tell you about that in a moment. All right. Let's make sure that we understand some little details about the poem. I love this, and I love this lesson. It's a great opportunity to be in front of you, reading this poem with you. What does the world look like in winter? What does it look like? It's good enough to bite. So it looks like something that you want to bite. Yes. On what part of your body do you catch snowflakes, according to the poem? On your tongue. You open your mouth and snow comes into your mouth and touches your tongue. All right, that is a very nice figure or image, let's say. All right, how do we understand a poem? If we have a poem in front of us, what do we do to understand it? I have some suggestions, some recommendations, some tips that you can follow so that you can take the best out of a poem. All right? So in general, let me give you something that you can do. This is very general. Read the poem out loud at least 3 times and listen to each word. So you read it 3 times. Focus on the imagery of the poem. That means that you are if there are some images that are evoked by the poem, that you focus on them. Pay attention to the action or actions that are being described there. Focus on the sounds, how it sounds when you are reading it. All right? And remember, read the complete poem and write comments as you read it. That is a general way of approaching a poem. You just read it again and again until you start listening to the sounds, understanding the images in the poem, etc., and you will get a better understanding of it. That is something that we can do. And there is also some more specific literary approach to understanding a poem. And I would like to list some things that you can do as you analyze a poem. And we are going to do it with this poem that we have here. All right? So it is good for you to understand the subject and context of the poem. The subject is the topic, and the context is what is around the poem that helps you understand it. All right? For example, you can read the title. In this case, what's the title of the poem? It's the Winter Morning Poem. All right. And you have the author there. What's the main subject? After you read it, what is the main subject? What are we talking about here? Winter. Yes? What's the key situation of the poem? What is it describing? What winter does, yes, to the world. What references to events does the poem make? What events? Are there any reference? Sometimes we don't have all of these items in a poem. We cannot analyze them because they don't appear there. But in this case, what events are referenced here? Yes, for example, the event of making a snowman that reminds you of when the winter turns a tree stump into a snowman that reminds you of, oh yes, people make snowmen in winter, right? Now, to get the subject and the context of the poem, you can also read or research about the background of the author. I looked up Ogden Nash and I found out that he was born in 1902 and he died in 1971. He's a very famous American poet and he is well known for his light verse. He worked in advertising, and after working in advertising for some time, he retired and he became a poet. He started just writing poems. He wrote about 500 pieces of comic verse. He attended Harvard University for a year. His great-great-grandfather was the governor of North Carolina. North Carolina is a state in the United States that is famous for having the 4 seasons very well differentiated one from another. I lived there for 3 years with my family, and they have beautiful, beautiful winters there. So the winter is something that probably is very dear to this author, and that's what's important to find out about the author, because it is something that it looks like he enjoys, and that's what he reflects on his poem. All right. What else? He lived in Nashville, Tennessee, and actually Nashville? What happens that the city of Nashville was named after his great-great-grandfather's brother, Nash. That's what I'm talking about. Yes. So it is good to find out about the author, and that gives you some ideas, that may give you some ideas about how to interpret the poem better. In this case, we found out that his relationship with North Carolina made it more affectionate when it comes to describing winter. All right. We can also analyze the style and form of the poem. The style and form, what does that mean? In the style, we can find that the kind of words that the author uses is important for us to understand the message of the poem. For example, if there are some words that we need to understand, we may need to look them up if we don't know them. For example, in terms of meaning of words, we don't know what a tree stump is. So a tree can be something not familiar with everybody, so you have to look up those. You can, if you don't know what a snowman is, you can look it up. If there are some verbs there, what verbs are used there to describe actions? Remember the word bite? Yes, that is a verb. We may look for sound and rhyme. The rhythm of the poem. It is like you're like I feel like then jumping, skipping, like running lightly on the snow as I read the poem. There is rhyme. Yes, there is rhyme in the poem. He repeats some sounds like snowy, snowy when it's snowing. I love that. So there is some music in the poem. All right. We may look in a poem in terms of the order and sections that it may have. Sometimes they are separated into stanzas. Sometimes they have some sections, one apart from the other, not in this case, but it looks like from the beginning to end, it's adding more and more descriptions of what the winter does to the world, right? And we may also analyze in terms of the style and form, we may analyze the mood. The mood is the feeling created by the poet for the reader. That means that how it makes you feel, how it makes the reader feel. And it may make you feel romantic, realistic, optimistic, pessimistic, gloomy. Mournful means that you are like crying for something that you lost, sorrowful. But in this case, would you agree with me if I say that this is cheerful? If you feel cheerful when you are reading about the winter, right? Now, the tone is something that you can analyze. The tone is the feeling of the author displayed in the poem. What I mean is that what was he feeling when he wrote this? Or how does he sound? In this case, the author sounds playful, could be humorous, not necessarily, regretful, not at all. Playful would be a good tone for this poem. And in terms of the form, we can analyze if it has free verse form, the rhyming scheme. So every two sentences, every two verses, it rhymes. For example, it says, "That's the season to be young, catching snowflakes on the tongue." So every two verses rhyme. All right. The stanzas are the collection of verses put together that mark sections in the poem. All right. Also, we can analyze figurative meaning. It means that we may see if there are metaphors or comparisons, right? See, like, not comparisons, when we put something as equal to something else. You are my world. So that is a metaphor because you are not my world, but I am equating you to the world. Similes is when we use the word like. You are like my world. That is a simile. And imagery in general, what images come to your mind when you read a poem? So winter is the king of showmen. That would be a metaphor because it is straight what that is. The author is saying that the winter is the king of showmen, straight like that. Because you cannot turn tree stumps into snowmen like immediately, right? That is a metaphor. You can also analyze figurative language. For example, when it says, and turning houses into birthday cakes. No, a house cannot be a birthday cake. And spreading sugar over lakes. Winter doesn't put sugar, but it is some figurative language that it's being used, right? One of the last tips that we have for analyzing a poem is to read the first and last line. That is something that you can do to understand what the poem is about. The first line is what? Winter is the king of showmen. All right? And the last line is, I'm sorry it's slushy when it's going. So, looks like it is very showy, yes, and I'm sorry when it's gone. So, looks like all the description of how winter is the king of showmen. Hence, in I'm sorry when it's slushy. Slushy means that it's melting. The snow is melting, like turning into water, and that is slushy. A slush is some drink that you can have with ice, melted ice in it. So that helps you if you read the first and last line. Might help you, not in all of the poems, but that is just a resource that you have for analyzing a poem. And a good thing that you do all the time, and I would suggest that you do that all the time, every time that you read a poem, is that you sum up the meaning of the poem in one sentence. If you can do that, it means that you have extracted a message for you. It may not be exactly what the author intended, but you are getting something from a poem. If not, why read it if you're not getting something to make your life better, right? So we could say winter is a happy time of the year that makes the world a beautiful place. right? Makes the world a beautiful place. So winter makes the world. Yeah, anyway, it is a summary. That's what the winter does to the world, makes it a beautiful place, happy place. All right. So that is something, just an idea of how we can approach and the analysis of a poem. I have some practice for you, actually. Read the following poem and use 3 of the above tools to analyze it, including your own sentence summary of it. So that is one. You can look at the form, simile, imagery, anything, but anything that I have shown you here, you can use to analyze this poem. I'm going to read it with you. It says, Life Without You by Nikki Wilfong. Me without you is like a leafless fall, a snowless winter, and a flowerless spring. There's no rhyme here, okay? Me without you is like a colorless rainbow, a sunless day, and a starless night. There's no rhyme. But it's sad. Me without you is like the ocean without a wave, the beach without sand, and a flameless fire. Me without you is like a book without words, a man without a face, and a child with no name. That is a sad, well, it is, I'm not giving you my interpretation of it, but I would like for you to read it and just tell me 3 simple things that you can after analyzing this poem, including your summary of it. All right? So I'm going to pause my video. No, you pause my video, complete the activity, and I'll see you in a moment. All right, I hope that you did read the poem 3 times and that you could analyze it. Let me show you some 3 little things that we can say about this, okay? Something that a student wrote. In terms of form, she said, it has 4-line stanzas. Yes, it is separated into stanzas. And it uses many similes. Yes. And the summary is similar because it says, like, my life without you. Me without you is like. And the summary is, my life without you is sad and empty, like something without its essence. Ooh, that's a really nice summary, because anything without the thing that the author mentions in the poem is empty like that. All right? So thank you very much for having done that. I would like for you to listen to the pronunciation of these simple sentences. All right? We already read the poem. Let's practice the pronunciation of the result of this activity. All right? So listen to her, please.
It has 4-line stanzas. It uses similes. My life without you is sad and empty, like something without its essence.
Thank you. Thank you. I hope that you repeat it after her so you can practice your pronunciation. And I hope that this video has shown you how you can read and interpret, analyze a poem. Thank you very much for your work, and I'll see you in the next video.